Now on Indianapolis This Week, we are heading to Hollywood for Oscar Sunday.
You understand?
The Revenant in position to be a big winner. How the movie may not have happened without help from IU.
He's going to take the last shot.
Celebrating 30 years of Hoosiers. We're going to take you inside the documentary that is recreating the magical scenes from an Indiana classic. And he's the new villain in the Star Wars trilogy. Now we can show you the Indiana ties to the man behind Kylo Ren.
From RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to a very special edition of Indianapolis This Week, where this Sunday politics takes a backseat to the movies ahead of the Oscars here on RTV6. We're here at the beautiful, historic Artcraft Theater in downtown Franklin, where each and every week the golden age of cinema comes alive on the silver screen. We'll take you inside for a tour in just a few minutes, but we want to welcome in our special co-host for the next half hour, RTV6's resident movie expert, Brad Brown.
Jason, thanks. It's great to be here in this beautiful setting for our Oscars preview. Let's start our conversation with one of the favorites for Best Picture tonight. The Revenant leads the field with 12 nominations, but a key part of that movie may not have happened without the director first making a phone call to Indiana University. With its depth of immersion and sweeping cinematography, The Revenant is already reaching stratospheric levels of Hollywood praise. The movie's gripping action scenes and in-your-face close-up tension have it firmly in the running to win Oscar's Best Picture honor. But it is some of the film's more personal scenes that help set the pace for this true-to-life story. Those words come from the language of the Pawnee Indians, authentic to the characters of fur trapper Hugh Glass's son and wife, and brought to the big screen with the help of Indiana University's American Indian Studies Research Institute. Dr. Douglas Parks and his team are one of very few places in the country with such experience with these Native American languages, and they suddenly found themselves in contact with Revenant director Alejandro Iñárritu.
The call came right out of the blue. I had no advance warning whatsoever. I've never had anybody ask me to translate Pawnee and Arikara, particularly the two languages that I've worked with for so long. Iñárritu, yes, strives for historical and linguistic accuracy. He was the one who actually insisted that they have authentic Pawnee and Arikara dialogue.
Daddy Ganesh. Daddy Ganesh.
When you watch a movie that has foreign dialogue in it or alien dialogue, you can pretty well tell whether it sounds like it's authentic or isn't. Because the speakers are going to speak more smoothly. They're going to, in most cases, have to have mastered sounds that we don't have in English.
These century-old dialects are disappearing with the passage of generations. Dr. Parks is hoping a high-profile setting such as this movie could bring more awareness of the importance of the work his department is doing.
Both Pawnee and Arikara cultures are extremely interesting, and to see these focused on would be nice because it would give most Americans a different stereotype of Indians, or let's say a wider appreciation of what cultural life was.
Now, The Revenant was not nominated for a screenplay Oscar this year. Only two other Best Picture winners in history ever were not nominated for Best Screenplay. That's The Sound of Music and Titanic.
It is one of, if not the most iconic of films shot in Indiana. Hoosiers, originally released in theaters in November of 1986, it scored 2 Oscar nominations for Dennis Hopper for supporting actor and for the music in the score. Now, 30 years later, the movie continues to shine brightly in the media spotlight, the ultimate underdog film that truly stands the test of time.
Every Hoosier knows the story of Hoosiers. Inspired by the 1954 state champions in Milan, the movie, shot across Indiana in the fall of '85, introduced the world to the fictional town of Hickory and the real-life love Indiana has for basketball.
Grew up watching it with my family, and being from Indiana, and I played basketball in high school, and everyone can relate to the Cinderella story, right?
Michael Watson, a Hoosier through and through.
I'm a factory worker. I work at Nestle.
Was inspired in part by those iconic characters that he grew up watching on the big screen as a child.
It's one of the greatest sports films of all time, if not one of the greatest films of all time. And I had heard the story of Bobby Plump, with Milan, and, we've all dreamed of making that last-second shot.
So inspired by the movie was Watson that he made his own movie about the filming of Hoosiers.
We are in Knightstown, Indiana, and that's where the gym is. And so I'm taking a tour of the gym, and I'm like, wow, this is where, Gene Hackman was, and Morris, and you can stand in the footsteps of these players and the filmmakers. And I thought, wow, I wonder what the other locations look like today, if they still exist. And that's kind of how it was born.
Watson set off a couple of years ago framing up shots throughout Hinkle and in filming sites in places like New Richmond, Knightstown, Nineveh, and Lebanon.
I have this fascination kind of with nostalgia. There's places we've all been, or we grew up, like the house we grew up in. We might not live there anymore, but I like to think about those places still exist.
Recreating the history of the film for Hoosiers Revisited, a brief documentary that Watson simply posted to YouTube, a simple fan film, no expectations. But then,
a couple days later, a friend of mine said, hey, it's on a Sports Illustrated website, so you're going to get a lot of views. Oh, okay, great. And then before you know it, it just kind of started, it went on ESPN, it went on Forbes.
Since then, Watson's met with or talked to the writer, the actors, the director, all appreciative of his work.
Director and the writer of the film both said thank you, because they hadn't been to those locations in 25, 30 years. I mean, a long time. They hadn't been back.
And in a small way, he's now become a part of the ongoing story of the movie that lives on to this day.
It's very well polished, and every detail, there was a big deal to the writer and director. It had to be right on. So, yeah, I think it's timeless. I think you could, in another 20 or 30 years, I think people will still be talking about that film.
That's actually Michael's father there with him in that last shot. And we'll include a link for you to watch Hoosiers Revisited with this story right now through the RTV6 app.
Well, there was a big Indiana connection to Oscar night 40 years ago. The date, March 29th, 1976. If you're an IU basketball fan, that might sound familiar. It's the night the Hoosiers won the NCAA championship and completed their perfect season. Well, in that era, long before social media, the game's result actually made its way into the Oscar telecast, courtesy of actor Elliot Gould.
And the winner is
Indiana, 86-68.
By the way, he was announcing the award for Best Editing, which went to Jaws.
Coming up, giving you an old-time feel of going to the movies, we're going to talk more about this historic Artcraft theater and other great locations around central Indiana. You're watching our special Oscars edition of Indianapolis This Week on RTV6.
Indianapolis native James Baskett's career started on Broadway, performing with the likes of Louis Armstrong and Mr. Bojangles' Bill Robinson. Baskett made his film debut in 1932's Harlem is Heaven. He landed a voice role in Walt Disney's Dumbo as Fat Crow in 1941. 1946's Song of the South featured Baskett in the lead role of Uncle Remus. He would receive an honorary Oscar for that performance in 1948, the first African-American man to be given an Academy Award.
Welcome back to a very special edition of Indianapolis This Week as we gear up for the Oscars. And to do that today, we are in the beautiful Artcraft Theater in downtown Franklin. And to talk more about this historic movie house, Rob Schultz, Executive Director of Franklin Heritage and the historic Artcraft Theater. Thanks so much for having us in today.
You are welcome.
Tell us about this beautiful theater. It is so cool to walk around and learn the history here.
Well, it was built in 1922 as a silent movie theater and a vaudeville house, and we use it now primarily to show classic movies in a classic theater. We also do some different concerts and live events and some plays, but primarily we're a movie house, and we show most of our movies on 35mm film still.
Rob, in such a beautiful historic theater like this, there are really some cool old bells and whistles you see along the way.
Right. You're standing on the original stage that had vaudeville acts. The orchestra pit is right over here where we would have had silent movies with a full orchestra, and you know, so all of the history is still here, and one of the things we like to embrace is we want to turn it into, you know, not just a movie but more of an event. The things that we add into it is we do a prize drawing before every movie. We do a long distance award. We do something we refer to as short attention span theater, a little parody of the movie, but it helps warm the crowd up and helps them kind of get into the feel of the movie. So you warm them up and get them ready for a great show.
We're definitely into the feel of the movies. Thanks to your welcoming us in today. We appreciate it, Rob.
Anytime.
We're backstage here at the Artcraft with the old letters and numbers from the marquee. This is not the only historic movie house in central Indiana where you can get a taste of old Hollywood. We made a short drive around for a classic night at the movies.
A little bit of old Hollywood in the Hoosier Heartland. Danville's Royal Theater dates back more than 100 years, opening in 1914. It's closed and reopened a couple times over the decades, but today, the single-screen house shows family films and hosts community events.
The community has had a wonderful response. They love that it's open. We have a lot of really faithful, loyal customers, and we've gotten a lot of new customers over the years.
The Royals projection room is a bit of a movie museum itself. The 35mm film projector and reel stacks are still in place and ready for their next feature. Both date back to the 1950s.
I love it when it is busy. We have a big family movie. People are lined up out the door. We're just serving up the popcorn as fast as we can. The kids are happy. People are happy. The crowd, it's full. And we have times when we'll show something, either an old movie or something that's new and exciting. And at the end, people will clap or they'll laugh or they'll sing along, whatever it is that lets me know that the crowd is loving not only the movie, but this place. That's why I do it. That's what I love.
A trip to the heart of downtown Tipton gets you to the Diana Theater. The family-owned single screen is celebrating its 90th anniversary this year. A fire in 1947 nearly destroyed it, but a rebuild and reopen in 1948 got the Diana back in business, and they've been entertaining Tipton residents ever since. The Indiana Theater has been a mainstay on Main Street in downtown Washington since opening in 1928. Originally a popular stop on the vaudeville circuit, the Indiana still has its original proscenium, curtains, and backstage dressing rooms intact.
It's just history, and it's downtown Washington, and there's always been something special going on in here for a long time, and it's great to be able to be a part of it again.
A remodel in 1982 converted the Indiana's balcony to a second screen upstairs. The theater now includes a pair of up-to-date digital projectors, but you can still feel the same old Hollywood allure that's been bringing movie fans in for decades.
Coming up, it's the highest grossing film of all time. But did you know the new villain in Star Wars is from Indiana? That story next on our special Oscars edition of Indianapolis This Week on RTV6.
The movie that generated the most buzz in 2015 had to be Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Here at the Artcraft, a poster of a re-release of the original from 1982, teasing coming attractions for Revenge of the Jedi, an early title on the third film of the original trilogy. Actor Adam Driver is one of the faces of the franchise of the new trilogy. Turns out the man that plays Kylo Ren is a bit of a Hoosier.
Chances are most of you have seen Star Wars: The Force Awakens. The movie's broken box office records by making more than $1 billion already. Without ruining the whole thing, we can tell you that Kylo Ren is the new bad guy. Or is he? Anyway, actor Adam Driver was chosen with the career-changing task of headlining the new trilogy.
walking in and seeing a life-size TIE fighter, walking in and seeing the original cast of walking and seeing Chewie. You know, there's lots of opening doors to sets or rooms and being just blown away.
But before he was a Star Wars star, Driver landed a role in the TV show Girls on HBO. He's been nominated for an Emmy 3 times. Before that, supporting roles in a wide range of films, including Inside Llewyn Davis and Lincoln. Before that, a couple roles on Broadway after graduating from the Juilliard School in New York. But before all of it, Adam Driver grew up in Mishawaka, Indiana, his mom's hometown. Moved to the Hoosier State around the age of 7, Driver graduated from Mishawaka High School in 2001, was in several high school plays, and sang in the choir. Shortly after high school, Driver joined the Marine Corps, served more than 2.5 years before getting injured in a mountain biking accident. That led him back to Indiana. He attended the University of Indianapolis for a year and then left for Juilliard. The rest has become Driver's own page of Hollywood history. And with Episode 8 and probably 9 of Star Wars in his future, he won't be leaving the big screen spotlight anytime soon.
Before some of the movies made it to the big screen and this evening's Academy Awards, some of them went through Indy's Heartland Film Festival. Rafael Sanchez takes us there.
Joining us now is Tim Irwin, the artistic director of the Heartland Film Festival, and here we are in the big screening room. 5 films seen at the festival are Oscar nominated, and those films came through Indianapolis. How critical is that?
It's very important. You know, for the bigger films, it's some prestige from a major film festival. For the smaller films, the independent films, the short films, it really matters as they try to stand out in a crowded marketplace of short films that are being made all over the world.
2 of those short films, one of them is The World of Tomorrow, nominated for animated short film, and The Stutterer, nominated for live action short film. These are not the big ones. These are not the big Hollywood productions.
Right. These are small independent short films with important stories to be told, and told very creatively. These are some of the most exciting films to watch because they can take more risks as they make them. Really fun stuff to watch, really interesting too.
But there are some of the big films that also came through the festival. Bridge of Spies, Room, Cinderella, also Oscar nominated.
They are, and Room was probably one of our highlights of the festival this year. It was our opening night film, and we got the chance to talk to the director, Lenny Abrahamson, after the screening at the IMA, and it's really fun for our audience to be able to talk to someone who was then eventually nominated for a Best Director Oscar as well. So Room, we were a huge point of their Oscar journey, and we're rooting for them tonight.
Brie Larson, you like her?
I think she's a lock to win, and she should have won maybe a couple years ago for Short Term 12, another great film. And I think her performance in Room just solidified her standing in the acting community.
And of course, best of luck to all the nominees, because last year, 6 films that came through Indianapolis did walk away with Oscars, so we'll see what happens. This is your 25th anniversary.
It is.
Last year, you had records amounts of films come through the festival. This is not Hollywood. Though our set is Hollywood today, Indiana is not Hollywood. Where are all these films coming from?
You know, I think more films are getting made each year, and more filmmakers hear about the Heartland Film Festival every year. We have a great reputation for excellence in films and the hospitality we show toward filmmakers. So everyone's telling their friends that they have to submit to Heartland. And with our new Indiana Spotlight competition, we have an even bigger incentive for Indiana filmmakers to make films in Indiana and to submit them to us and vie for the $5,000 prize we have in that category.
So what can we expect in this 25th year, your anniversary? Any surprises?
We have some big things coming up that we'll announce as we get closer. We have a 25th anniversary celebration event during the festival. We're actually expanding to 11 days of festival this year, October 20th through the 30th, and it's going to be fantastic.
And by the way, if you are a budding filmmaker, you are taking submissions right now.
Right now we're taking submissions. If you go to heartlandfilm.org, you can look up the Submit tab and send us your film.
Tim Irwin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are off to the movies and off to the Oscars. Now back to you.
All right, we've got the popcorn, we've got the nominees. Brad Brown's Oscar picks coming up next on a special edition of Indianapolis This Week. Welcome back to our special edition of Indianapolis This Week from the beautiful Artcraft Theater, and we are talking the Oscars, of course, and making our picks to do that. Brad Brown here. Let's start with supporting actress.
Great category this year. Alicia Vikander, though, from The Danish Girl, is the clear favorite in this one. She could have been considered kind of the lead performance in that movie. She gets a supporting actress nomination, though, and I think it's going to be one of the easy winners on Sunday night.
I'm keeping tabs on you right here, by the way. Lead actress.
And I really think another clear favorite in this category, Brie Larson from the movie Room. Just an amazing performance. performance, devastating overall. She's been winning all of the awards leading up to this, from the Golden Globe and the SAG Awards and on, and I think she's going to be the winner on Oscar night.
All right, let's jump across the aisle. Supporting actor, a lot of buzz around Sylvester Stallone.
And maybe deserving of that nomination. Great as Rocky in the Creed movie. I really think they missed out on a couple of other guys that could have fit into that category. I think the favorite going into that, though, Mark Rylance played the Russian spy in the movie Bridge of Spies.
Great movie.
Yeah, great movie and a great performance from a veteran actor that really deserves the nomination and I think is deserving of the award.
Hollywood loves a good story, though. Watch that Stallone one there. Lead actor.
Leonardo DiCaprio is the clear favorite in The Revenant, and I think he's probably going to win it. My concern with this is he spends about 2/3 of that movie not saying a word. And I think, for me, if you lean toward a character like Matt Damon played in The Martian and some of what you saw out of these other guys, they might be more deserving of it, but I think it's going to go to Leo in the end on Sunday night.
Talk about a fellow who carried a movie there with Matt Damon. All right, the big one, Best Picture.
They're all great. They really are. There's a lot of great movies. The Revenant, big, bold, most nominations, great cinematography, and a good look. Some of the smaller movies, Spotlight has a great cast and a great screenplay. Room just really kind of gets at your insides and really digs in deep. The one I liked the best was Mad Max Fury Road. It's big, brash, loud, some amazing things that they did there. And I think at the end it would be my pick, but I think ultimately The Revenant will probably be the one to take home the trophy.
We've got your picks all marked down. Thank you, Brad. This is just the start of a huge day of Oscar programming here on RTV6. Our countdown to the Oscars resumes at 5 o'clock with On the Red Carpet at the Oscars. At 7, it's ABC's Oscars opening ceremonies. And at 8:30, it's the 88th Oscars hosted by Chris Rock. And make sure you wake up with us tomorrow morning, a full behind-the-scenes look at the Oscars, the winners, and of course the fashion. It starts with Good Morning Indiana and Good Morning America. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition of Indianapolis This Week. For Brad Brown and our entire team, have a fantastic Sunday, everybody. We'll see you back here for the Oscars.